Welcome. Hello. Oh, I'm live. I see the update here. Okay. Yay. How are you, everybody? Good evening or good morning, because I have European viewers sometimes too. So if you're in Europe, good morning. Good morning. How are you? I don't know why I did Arnold today. It's not that good right now. Good morning. How are you? Oh, there we are. Okay. Hello, hello. Well, I didn't get everything planned perfectly right for everything on the stream here, so I'm a little bit behind on getting the material ready. So that's all right though, because I started a couple minutes early, so we'll give some folks some time to join, and that gives me time to put this on the Twitters and tell people to go there. Okay, let's see what's up here. So if I'm a little bit, oops, sorry about the echo. Let me share this. Wow, look at that. That's really cool. I can't believe it. Well, welcome, man. I got several viewers right off the bat. That's cool. How are you, everybody? We'll see what happens here. I got to put this on Twitter. Live now. There we go. Okay, it's up on the Twitter sphere. Twitter, not fear. We don't want it to be the Twitter fear. Although that's a way more appropriate for what Twitter does. It makes people angry and fearful, does it not? I guess it doesn't have to, but that seems to be the action or the reaction that it tends to provoke. All right, let me clear out some of these things so that my computer runs a little better. All right. Hey, hey, Fredo. I knew it was you all along. Those who can't see the chat. Hi, Fredo. That's why I said that. Because sometimes I think I need to put your guys' comments on the screen more times. Otherwise, people are like, "What the hell is he talking about?" So, hey, True Seeker, how are you? All right. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. Tonight, I want to do things that are. I'm trying to bring things to a more back to discussing energetics and spirituality more, because I really feel like once we know what the problem is, then it becomes more about creating environments and solutions through which the problem solving aspect of what we're dealing with can occur. And I've been listening a lot lately. I probably mentioned it to you in the live streams here that I've been listening to a lot of. Oh, hey, welcome, Lisa. I've been listening to a lot of Malachi Martin and those unfamiliar. In fact, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see those unfamiliar. I really think it's important to listen to some interviews from, and tonight's not going to be my Malachi Martin night. I know I keep saying I'm going to do that, but let's see here. So, okay, let me get this on the screen. As tonight, those unfamiliar, Malachi Martin was a Jesuit priest who left the he left Catholicism. Rather, he left the Catholic order officially. He left the Catholic Church as a Jesuit to go independent, but he never like stopped practicing being a Catholic. And because right now is that time before Easter, and it involves Lent, and there's a lot of themes of Jesus and forgiveness. Regardless of what spiritual background you come from, um, I think I have a couple different types of audiences here, and a lot of them are thankfully able to apply energetic science to what they understand about their faith, which is to say, tonight the theme would be thoughts become things, and more aptly, thought form entities bind to bioplasma fields. And hang on really quick. I don't want that running in the background because it makes me not think right. And so, all right. So I've been discussing a lot about, how there's the pineal gland, and you've got the 3D prism and everything else like that. And it forms the projection. Those who haven't been watching that material, just go back to the last couple streams because I talk about it in way more detail. Or you can find ones, if you do a search inside my material, look up Trinity of Human Energy. That's where I go deep, deep, deep into it, like whiteboarding it and everything. But the thing that I've been talking about less, and somebody did mention this to me, whoever did that in the comments, thank you. Like, what about the heart? Why aren't you talking more about the heart? Well, because lately I've been just discussing this concept of how do we create the 3D projection. You hear people say that we live in a projection or a simulation and everything else like that. No, it's not a simulation, but it is somewhat of a projection that vibrates into perceived physical reality. But that's just the part involving, the brain, because sometimes, like with your fingers, you might touch something, but depending on you could have a medical condition that might make it to where you don't even sense something on your fingers, right? Sorry, I'm not trying to do voodoo on you guys. I'm like waving my hands in front of the screen. But the point is that the heart is a muscle, and once you get through the 3D projection of the brain, then you're into another trinity, because again, you have this trinity: pineal gland, left eye, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, all those other things. But now as you work your way down the center of your central nervous system, your chakra system, obviously those who study chakras, you have more than 3. So I'm not going to go deep into every chakra, because I'm not even going to pretend to be that guy that can. I know a lot, but I can't sit there and tell you like every single aspect of the chakras without reading something. Okay. But one thing I do know is within the Trinity of Human Energy is it's a replicating Trinity. So yeah, once you get past this Trinity, then you've got another Trinity in the heart, another Trinity in the loins. We can all agree, right? For the most part, there's Trinities. And what motivates the things in the brain, those signals that are the centers that motivate you, the free will aspects, I would argue, that are, so there's the brain is one, then you have the heart, and then you have the loins. And these are what get you from place to place and make you want to do things or not want to do things, as it were, correct? I'm keeping this very basic, guys. And so tonight is about the role of the heart, and maybe I guess the loins, I suppose, but mostly about heart and forgiving and faith and belief. And the thing about faith, I've learned over time that believing in people is a very powerful force. Having faith in them and loving them is extremely powerful at creating everything in this universe. It's faith. Faith is really the initial binding layer to it all. And I'm not saying faith is necessarily religion, but faith in something. Faith in absence of proof. Faith in absence of direct things that tell you that you should have faith in it. but it's a more intuitive sense. When you have that kind of thing, again, a faith that requires evidence would not be faith at all. I got that from a really brilliant movie called Flirt by Hal Hartley. And I wonder if I could get away with playing that right now. Guys, every time I do something like that, I get a copyright strike and it makes the whole presentation get lost. So I can't risk it. I would love to share that scene with you, though. But there is something really powerful about it. And I would argue that what the process of faith, when you break it down, is thought forms and thought form entities, which is that within this 3D projection that we have, where there's the emission of the plasma that exits here, and then we all share that together, that the way you make something manifest is driven by that part in the heart. It's the thing that makes you love somebody. It's the thing that makes you believe in them. It makes you want them to be a better person, or on the flip side, when you're disappointed or you lack faith or you lack belief, then you begin to see that effect on people also. I mean, can we all agree that when you go into any given situation, maybe it's just something like a job, say you go into your first day on the job and nearly every single person that comes up to you says, I don't know, you're here, maybe you can do this. I don't really, yeah. I don't really think that you can. So, all right, here's the manual. If you can figure it out, great. It's not my job to make sure you do something, but whatever. And they hand it to you or whatever, right? And how do you feel at that point? I mean, are you going to want to do your job, or are you going to want to learn it as much as possible? Some people they can get past that. But I think we all agree, like if you went into an environment where everybody kind of showed up and said like, hey, well, I'm so happy that you're here, and I really want to see you succeed, and you just seem like a great person. You're very qualified. Here's your guidebook to doing your job. I'm always here to answer questions. I'm going to give you the best thing I can, and then the person walks away going, wow, man, that person was really cool. I think they're going to do a good job. What I'm saying is something as simple as just that one interaction where the person exits that interaction with you and just believes in their heart, or even on the most basic level, like, yeah, I think they can do it. Yeah, they seem pretty cool. I mean, even something as simple as that, it it's a thought form entity that binds the bioplasma that you as the receiver of it can receive it boosts you. It gives you the ability, because it manifests as the person's more open and willing to go back and forth with you and go like, yeah, you're a cool person. I can see this is going to work out. You're not a waste of my time. I have faith in you. I believe in what you do. Then over time, as you're doing things back and forth and you do it well, and they see you doing it well over and over again, then obviously faith is less of a component, because you've proven that their faith wasn't in absence of proof, right? Because there's a flip side to that. People can believe in you, but then at some point, right? Sorry, bad timing. But at some point in time, there's the part where you have to begin showing and proving and everything to maintain belief and faith, and that's all valid. So again, there's this balance between this undying and unending, like, well, you must have faith in me. Well, no, at some point, you got to show something, right? And so I've gone through that at times in my life, or where, I just realized that I had to do better, or I had to show and prove more. Otherwise, there would be a lack of whatever. Okay. So again, I'm getting really basic and not very spiritual with this. So let me kind of get into something a little bit more that we can all relate to better. Yeah, there is a second. So True Seeker says there's a second heart that works kind of like a brain. So hang on. I'm learning that right now. What I need more than anything is a little sip of coffee. So hang on. Man, I really shouldn't do these things without getting like, the amount of coffee that I need, like right before I do it, because then I start to go like, all right. But it's Lent, and Malachi Martin is part of the theme. So let me just get to that part before because I've already like gone all over the map here, and we're like 15 minutes in. So all right, who's Malachi Martin? Also, none of this doesn't matter. Okay, he was an Irish-born American traditionalist Catholic priest, biblical archaeologist. That's pretty cool, actually. He did biblical archaeology. That's why he kind of like resonates strong with me, because when you really start doing things involving bioenergetics, and you really get it, you start learning that nearly everything is biblical archaeology or some form of spiritual or faith-based archaeology. So just like you have Egyptologists and you have people that study other, types of, pyramidal structures, whatever it is. I mean, there is kind of a biblical archaeology theme to it, where you're trying to find out what's the origins of this, why did they do it, what was the purpose. And that's what really fascinates me about Malachi Martin, Father Martin, was he was an exceptional, like he was like an Indiana Jones type persona early in his thing when it comes to the Bible. Like he knows all those cool things that we talk about, like what is the Holy Grail and what is that Fatima story. And he had access to all of it. He had access to the Vatican Library, which is the largest esoteric, occult, spiritual, whatever you call it, library in the world. I mean, they have all the secret knowledge there, more than the Masons, more than all these other people. It's that Vatican Library. They have all the esoteric schooling. Beyond that, he was also an exorcist, paleographer, professor, and a great writer. I have had some weird experiences in studying him. So when I was in that involve energetics, belief, and faith, and I'm going to tell you, all right. True Seeker says, "Drink away." Thank you. I will. I definitely need this coffee. All right, because I wanted to talk about this tonight, but I got to be honest with you, I am a little bit sleepy, but coffee always gets me what I need. All right. And I'm going to show you some cool things tonight, guys. And because the article that I did doesn't even explain to you what it was like being in the Edgar Cayce Library. If you can ever go to the Edgar Cayce Library in Virginia Beach, go, go, go. Do it, do it. And spend time there, spend a lot of time there. And you're going to see some really interesting things go on. You're going to witness miracles in that place. It was probably one of the most bizarrely spiritual experiences I've had. It was all types of great and spiritual. And again, it was synchronistic. Like the synchronicities that occurred while I was in that library were just beyond measure. It was just like I wanted something and it would magnetically draw to me like you would not believe it. It's like it was almost like objects could float right into my hand. Not quite that esoteric, but it was like that. That's why I'm talking about Malachi Martin, because I was just thinking like, wow, okay, I'm in this cool library. It's the second largest spiritual library next to the Vatican in the world. This is the second largest that I'm in. I'm telling you, for a person like me, it's like, and I like excited. And so I was like, what am I going to look up? Okay, what am I thinking of? Okay, what do I got to go find? Malachi Martin. Yeah. I've been listening to Malachi Martin's interviews. Yeah, I wonder if they got some Malachi Martin. I just thought about it, you guys. Like the clip does not do the moment justice because I couldn't possibly film what I went through just before then. But I promise you, I hadn't even gone down the aisle that Malachi Martin's book is in. And the thought just flowed in like, this place has to have some Malachi Martin in it. And then I just literally went around the corner and it was like my hand just goes whoop. And I just it was like, I went around the corner and looked and it said Martin on the side of the thing. And I'm like, is it that Martin? And I just pulled the book out and sure enough, it was Malachi Martin's book. Then I knew and this kept happening, you guys. It didn't just happen like something like that once. It happened like a bunch of times. You like when you experience it, you'll know. And it's not necessarily to convince you that this is more legit or anything like that. I would like you go find out for yourself if you want to. You can visit the library anytime. You can't check books out there unless you're a member, but you can freely access all of Edgar Casey's books and all of his natural remedies, all of his all of his journals. They're all in the library, including the sofa that he used to sit on and do studies on, which again, if I ever go back, I would love to get permission to measure energy using the LM4 life meter and a BioL GDV Carillion photography camera, because it's just like or I mean, it's a measurement device. I shouldn't call it a camera, but these are ways that you can measure like the energy properties in a more esoteric fashion, less through the standard electromagnetic field spectrum and more through life energies, what some call orgone. That's the term that Wilhelm Reich coined, these life energies, the aether, that we exist in the universal plasma field as a energy source and as an energy force and source, I guess you could say. And I have some clips about that, like what happened to me at the library. And I am going to play for you some things about exorcisms and possessions, because the reason why I'm doing that, guys, is because like some of the material you've probably seen me do over the last couple of days has been about, quote, the family, and about my experiences sort of leaving behind a situation where there was some toxic forces that kind of, I guess you could say, are within my bloodline. I'm not sure how else to tell you this, guys. I mean, those unfamiliar with my material, there's some toxicity within the personalities, and there was radical changes in behaviors through people that I loved and cared about. And I have been trying to reconcile, how to process that internally for a long time, since it really became obvious to me. And so that's what some of those articles are about. I really don't like to go to an angry place. And I think in the past, when I was communicating it, I'm glad that those of you who it was important to see that in me, that you got to see it. And it was better that you did than didn't. But the way I communicated that initially, as much as it gave people the ability to have a stronger faith in me and understand that I'm being a real, authentic person, which I get that it was good for that, it was completely wrong the way I communicated it and the suggestions that I made out of anger to those people. I'm not proud of it. And those of you who saw it, I think a few of you were even in this room tonight, you know. And it occurred to me that I was letting my anger, I was letting my rage and frustration from what had happened to me, it was blocking out my ability to create and problem solve and actually come up with solutions. And that's where the power is. That's where you can really make the changes. And the more you stay anchored in hate and frustration and rage and just general strife, the less creation based you are, the less ability you have to, let's just talk about it bioenergetically. When you're pulled into the positive orgone radiation spectrum, I wouldn't say that's being pulled. I mean, that's literally that you're emanating, you're feeding your influence, your thought form entities, which means thoughts become things. Everything that you're pouring out is you're actually programming the biofield. You're making a meaningful difference at that point because you're unclouded by the anchors of rage and anger, which pull you into the DOR spectrum of radiation, which is an inward energy. It goes inward. You don't push plasma out, you absorb it. And it's a toxic form. And much like a drug, I think some people almost vampirically become very, and maybe it's just a part of their personas, but they literally seem to gain more energy themselves, at least on the surface, from getting deadly or DOR. I prefer calling it dormant or dark, but the technical term that coined by Wilhelm Reich is deadly orgone radiation. I'm going to warn people that I think that that's a bad term, and I don't think we should ever use it here because it's still life energy. DOR and POR are both spectrums of life energy. And I think it's damaging to refer to any life energy as deadly. So I prefer saying DOR means dark or dormant. And much like the clips that I did the last couple days, there is a little bit of the DOR spectrum within my behavioral signature, meaning to say I'm having to give warnings, I'm having to give caution, I'm having to put things that cause pause in a person's life, meaning to say that I'm giving words to a select audience to let them know that well, a friend of mine said it's rebuking. And there's some really beautiful people that I was surrounded by growing up that share my bloodline. And I continue to believe that they're beautiful people, quite a few of them. And that's the problem. Well, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm glad I feel that way. What I'm saying though is that they have no knowledge or awareness of what some of the others did, and may not even know specifically who they are, except for from my word. I may be one of the only lone people within this bloodline that's even willing to discuss it. And when that happens, sometimes you become the focus of some of the resentment, the whole phraseology about shooting the messenger. And so what I had to do was let them know in my material that it's over, that they can't be doing what they've been doing up until now, and that the things that I've done to restore what could be restored of the legacy of my bloodline. Um, it's not even about that, guys. I mean, I don't really care about like whether or not one family name has more influence than another. That means very little to me. It's just about what's fair. That because you have a couple of numbnuts in your family, just to be, I'm going to be blunt about it, that do some horrible things but get away with it and then troll everybody. I'm just letting you know, like, I don't feel like the rest of us should have to suffer as a result. And as far as I can tell, the ones that are doing all the shitty things are experts at uh, at doing what I call karma transfer or karma delay. It's their way of not taking the blame for their own actions and transferring that blame and transferring their karma and the payment for their sins over to others that didn't even have anything to do with it. Again, being spineless. And when you have people that raised you to be a different kind of person, I was raised to confront issues. I was raised to respectfully do it. I was raised to be exceptionally well spoken. I was scolded if I did not speak well. I applaud my father especially for that one thing. I will say, because it's good to have. It's a life skill, and I'm blessed to have it. And I received that blessing largely from the training, I guess you could say, that I received from these people. And but at some point in time, um, and yeah, thank you. I want to put this there because Lisa said rebuking is loving. I agree, and thank you for saying that. That's really where it's at. Um, yeah, I have all kinds of love for these people. I just at some point, the same way that I try to explain to people, like, do you know that some of these folks that like aren't acting anything like themselves now, like sat me aside at one time when I was a lot younger, and they really taught me some good things, some good morality. They would have been telling me to question things that they do today. That's the thing that was so confusing to me. And that's why, as we're getting deeper into this discussion, I'm talking about Lent and Catholicism and Malachi Martin and that kind of thing. Um, it's for a reason, guys. Like, I'm not Catholic, but yet I gain a lot of influence from this very loving person. When I listen to Malachi Martin, it touches me. I sense a man that actually had integrity. I feel like he really wanted what was right, and he was willing to make sacrifices to his own personal comfort in order to make that a reality for other people. And that's a beautiful thing to do. And he's inspired the hell out of me. Everything he would do after he left the Jesuit order, he continued on. He made himself available to perform exorcisms. Something that you look, as long as I've been in researching energetics, I've found that the process of an exorcism is something that a lot of people laugh at. And the second I saw that, to me, it just felt like, wow, you're willing to believe so many things that you can't verify. But we have evidence all around us right now that the world needs almost like a huge exorcism. There's so much toxicity within deadly orgone or dark. I think part of it's actually that exact thing I just said, that people that are in this esoteric science of defining what orgone is call the dark part of orgone deadly. Don't do that. Just call it dark. There's no light without dark. So it's a contrast. It doesn't mean that when the lights go out and it's nighttime, that everything outside is dead and evil. There is still life out there. Things are still going on. Good things happen in the dark too. So let's not always call it deadly. In fact, don't call it deadly at all. I don't know. Somebody get James DeMayo on the phone and maybe we can channel Wilhelm Reich with one of our radionics machines and get some consensus on this. Little bit of a joke there, but maybe not so much. Hey, James DeMayo, call me. I'll call you. I'm probably too dumb for you, but I have a good understanding of some of these things, but that guy is sharp. Okay. I don't know if you've ever looked on the Orgone Lab website, but like he's like so far beyond most people's knowledge on like life energies and measuring it and bions and everything else. So yeah. All right. So I think what I'm going to do then is I want to talk about exorcisms tonight in a more with compassion and understanding of that we are dealing with. Once you get past the Linda Blair exorcist movie definition of head spinning around and vomit everywhere and devil things, okay, doesn't really always manifest quite like that. But if you listen to Malachi Martin's interviews, he says that, listen, the movie obviously takes some liberties to some degree, but the book is pretty accurate. It was based on a real case. And it gets intense, especially like a lot of the words that are exchanged and the way that when people have demon attachments, the way that they know things about you and they attack you so like spiritually. Like he would talk about like he and him as a minister or like a father preacher within the Catholic order, he would be getting like they would know things about him. The demon that's attached to the person he was exorcising would know things about him and then really get inside his head. And he says that's what they do. Like when you take this on, it's extremely dangerous. You expose yourself to getting a similar attachment. You have to be a very spiritually strong, willing, and able person to even take it on. And so the fact that this guy did it for so many years in his life and did it right up until he was in his to being elderly, and he talked about the energy drain. I'll tell you what, he impresses the hell out of me. And I don't care what faith he's from, whether I agree or don't agree or whatever. He brought me closer to his belief system. He made me, I respect him. I respect his education. And it made me respect where he came from more, even though he had to leave it. And again, I'm not doing this as some like pro-Catholic rant or anything like that. That's not it. Okay. What I'm saying is that we must be open to the perspectives of people that think differently than us, because you can learn something from what they do. And so I don't have to put all this thing about Malachi Martin up here. So let me hang on. I'm going to take this off the screen very briefly. Okay, and then I'm gonna play a clip for you on exorcisms that covers this. Now, the interesting part you might find about this, guys, is this is one of the first articles that I did on the topic, and I had such a basic level of understanding of these things, but at an intuitive level, I kind of knew. I kind of knew what was going on already without actually having done all the research yet. And one of my first lessons in bioenergetics before I even heard of energetics was in studying, well, you know something, I had actually just discovered the term energetics and all the Defense Intelligence Agency documentation. And that's when I learned that, there's technology that can soul jack, that can actually change a person's personality radically. MK Ultra, Aquarius Group, all those things, there's technology innovations behind them that you must take seriously. Otherwise, you're half there with your ability to address them. Like, you need to know the technologies. You need to understand brainwave. You need to understand frequency brainwave hacking. I'll tell you why. To let a demon in is easy with somebody who believes in the Catholic faith. The devil is real to them. They're taught about a physical hell. They're taught about spiritual hell. Anytime you're in an educational system or a religion or anything else like that, that is teaching you about a devil of any type. So if you're Catholic, you're going to learn about Satan or Lucifer, and Christians in general. That's the battle, right? God versus Lucifer, the devil, and then what these things really are. Trinities within, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I would argue the devil has its own Trinity. Okay. As above, so below, everything's an inverse. And that's why it's valuable to even understand somebody's deception, because within every perfect deception is a perfect inverse of their deception. You can reverse the parameters 180 and learn the truth. And so, yeah, oh yeah, I'm going to blow your mind, just a guy in the crowd. You just wait. Sorry. Somebody just said this. So never heard of this bioenergetics, but it's making sense. Oh yeah. I have a whole series called Energetics. If you go into my channel and go into the playlist there, just click on the one that says Energetics and Archaeometry, and it goes deep, deep, deep into this. And maybe I'll play that clip tonight. I might play Energetics 1 just so you have a basic understanding, as I do, about why thoughts become things within energetics. But before I do that, I want you to see something from a more spiritual aspect involving what the Catholic Church believes about exorcism, the way they teach it like a science, they teach it like a school in college. And you may be interested in this, guys. They actually hired a secular non-believer to train them on exorcism methods. What does that tell you about the Jesuits? Now, do they not know anything about this? Or would we suggest that again, zoom out from your own personal perspectives, then you must know that if they're going to spend that much money and actually hire people from the outside who aren't even Catholic to teach them something, there must be some people within inside that understand that exorcisms are needed. Demon attachments are real because thoughts become things. Within bioenergetics, there is something called bioplasma. Just like you have blood and you have plasma, things can bind to your blood. You can gain illnesses through your blood. Okay, well, bioenergetics is the bioplasma field resonating into physical matter. I would argue all it takes is a doctor saying, you have cancer, you have this illness, you have something terminal, and that sets in motion thought form entities. And if the person believes the doctor, they are halfway on to being gone. The people that say, I can beat this. Okay, that's one guy's opinion. I don't have to take it. I'm just going to take good care of myself, and I don't know, I'm just going to keep going. I don't accept that I have what you say. I just don't believe it. That's powerful. I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. No. Don't neglect it. But you don't have to accept what the wizard tells you. Sometimes that's a curse. Sometimes that's a hex. That's just designed to get you to come back to the same person and go like, I need more cursing and hexing to get rid of the other curse and the other hex. Well, here, consume this. Thought form, thought form, thought form, thought form, thought form, thought form. I believe in the pill. 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 You get healed by the pill, but you did most of it. Just remember that. You did most of it. That doctor, an unnecessary conduit to your healing most of the time. Again, they have their function, man. If I needed stitches, I would definitely go get the doctor to stitch me up. If I broke my leg, I would definitely want to have doctors that could, heal it and wrap a bandage around it and everything, guys. So I'm not saying we throw out all old medicine. I'm saying that some of it is garbage, and it is just simply wizards playing around with your emotions. There's no other way to put it. Okay. I have not been to a doctor in several years, and I don't get so much as a flu. The closest I got to sick was recently, guys, and you've seen me on my live stream. So if I sounded like a little bit like dry and whatever, that's as bad as it gets. Okay. I don't get sick. So I'm going to play this before I answer your questions. So hold on to your questions. Okay. And I'm going to play this thing on exorcisms. And then after that, I'll probably play Energetics 1 and then give you like kind of an explanation as it goes along. But let's start off with exorcisms, Malachi Martin, and things of that nature, and I'll be back after it's done. And what I think we're experiencing right. All right, I need to talk about energy and what I think we're experiencing right now and how that relates to belief systems, because the way I've come to understand energy, especially in the last few weeks, is that what we're dealing with overall is a system of, I guess you could call it dark energy. And there's different names for it, and I'll get there in a bit. And it latches onto all belief systems, and it will customize itself to your belief system. And it seems to be how it works. I know others think these things too. So I'm not pretending to reveal anything new here to you. I'm just hoping to offer a different perspective on it, because we're all from different places and belief systems and different backgrounds. And so this isn't innate of trying to get people to soften to one another's belief systems or anything else like that necessarily. It's just to try to help you understand the way I see energy. So if some of my explanations conflict with your belief systems, you'll understand where I'm coming from when I talk about dark energy and why we need people from all different backgrounds. So this is specifically related to the documentary about Father Malachi Martin called Hostage to the Devil. And there's one part in this that really stuck out with me, aside from the obvious aspects of it involving Malachi Martin, who I really have a lot of respect for. And maybe this documentary is biased, I don't know. But I walked away with a good sense about this man. But this part here about the Catholic Church in particular stuck out with me, and says, this is the Jesuits and how they have an exorcism course in Rome. So this guy says there's an exorcism course we have here in Rome in our university, and it was invented by a layman. Right there, I thought that was really interesting, because that says to me that. Did you hear what they just said? They said in our university, the exorcism course was invented by a layman. That means a non-Catholic. So they know something, guys. They know something. At least there is an aspect within the Jesuits that seem to understand the problem that we're dealing with and the multifaceted approach that it requires in order to address this. And so the appeal that I would make to people that identify as Catholic or Jesuit is to understand that there's going to be a lot of people out there doing energy work that are similar to what you might be doing and what you discuss or call as exorcisms. But it's a belief system based thing. So there's a need for those people
just as there's a need for people that come from Catholic belief systems, because the individuals that dark energetics attaches onto, it latches onto their belief systems. It doesn't matter whether you believe those belief systems are true or not. To the individual, it's everything, because this is thought form based. I can't explain all aspects of that. You either understand it by now or you don't, the same way I either understood it or I didn't. I'm just trying to offer a different perspective. So he said this gave him the opportunity to work with a famous exorcist called Father Gabriel Cruz. Tried to give a general outlook of exorcism. So we speak on the rite and its liturgic part. We also speak on the medical aspects. So I just wanted to share that really quick, because that shows that they're at least looking at it from a different direction. I'm not Catholic. Okay, never was Catholic. I've been to a Catholic church a couple times. I have family members that are Catholic. So when I watched this, I was really more interested in just different perspectives on exorcisms and how that relates to the energetics that we're dealing with. Now, moving on, I think it's important, as we're talking about energy, in a lot of the Asian cultures, they define what we're talking about here as chi, energy flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you notice that there's a commonality in all these different Asian cultures.
Bioplasma.
And how they define it.
Emissions.
Chinese culture, chi.
Chi.
Gi.
Bioplasma.
Japanese,
emissions.
Vietnamese, Korean. It's all a pretty similar word. It has roughly the same translation: material energy, life force, energy flow.
Orgone.
Again, something that you don't define like you do electricity. This is something that's different. It's that ether.
Cultural perspective.
Energy. And some people call it the purple light. It really depends on the background you come from. And it's the same type of energy, but it's in different cultural contexts, you see? Because if you're from China, you're from Korea, these are the symbols that you relate to. These are the symbols of your culture. These are the words you use to define these energies.
By the way, I had a friend of mine that I stayed with teach me a form of qigong, which is like subtle energy transfer. It's not. It's like you do have like there's a little bit of touch involved with the way you do muscle manipulation. It's not like it's chiropractor work, but I wouldn't call it massage either. It's somewhere in between the two. It's like if there's a tense muscle like on the shoulder blade, it's a very subtle energy movement in a very controlled environment. Everything's extremely quiet. It's not too bright, usually low volume music or total silence. And it's important to be in a sort of like meditative, like clear state. Okay. And you must be totally relaxed with your body, like almost like on the massage table kind of thing, with the face down and everything. And then it's finding where the energy centers are that are more, I would argue that when that tension's in there that way, that's a DOR accumulated energy that's in that muscle group, and that it can be freed from the DOR not by adding subtle energy from the fingertips that's in the POR, positive orgone radiation spectrum, where the hand can then become almost like a tuning wand, because the fingertips have a lot of energy flow. Okay. And I'll show you examples of this. My GDV BioWell camera, it does everything through this region on your hand. It can tell your whole body voltage, all the things about your chakra system, just by taking these photos of your fingers resting against the glass. And then it does an electrostatic discharge against your finger. And then it sends back the energy signature to the device, which reads it and then processes and outputs what your bioelectrical signature is. And it gives you the biofield reading and everything. Okay. So this works. Qi works. There's things you can do now. Qigong works, I meant to say. Energy flow does occur through your hands. And some people to a greater degree, and some people to nearly nothing. Okay. But the fact is, it exists, and it's in the field of bioenergetics, which just takes all of these esoteric terms from all these different cultures: chi, prana, same thing, bioplasma. I mean, look, the binding layers and the energy flow, perhaps you could argue they're different things, but yeah, the energy flow of the aether, this unknown thing that isn't really unknown, and they keep saying it can't be measured. I even say it early in my articles. No, now I have the equipment to measure it, so I don't say that anymore. And if you catch any of my old materials, say like, what is this energy? How do we measure it? Well, I've learned how to measure it now. So that's no longer an issue in case that comes up here. But anyways.
So when you come from a Catholic background, you're still seeing very similar symbols. Now, I understand that a lot of people identify an antichrist as a person who tries to create doubt in these belief systems. What I'm here to tell you is that, because I know that that's an argument, right? People are going to think that. I get it. That's not where I'm going with all this. I'm telling you that your belief system, and I believe that these are all true, and that it's possible for them to all be true because people don't identify with the same symbols. See, if you're from one of these cultures, this may mean this. Do you understand that? In different forms? And to just tell somebody that that symbol has to be this symbol doesn't make a lot of sense, is all I'm telling you. Because we're dealing with energy. There is a Christ energy. And I want you to understand that that's a belief that I have. Okay? So I'm not questioning that at all. I believe that there is a very dark energy that's out there and that it's going to require this to defeat it.
You got it.
I need to understand how to work with those energies as much as I do any type, because I think we're dealing with the same thing, but it is a belief system attachment. So if you come from a Catholic background, it may take on what we would define as like, exorcist, demonic possession, like this. If you come from a Catholic background and you believe in a demon as a physical devil, and you have strong enough thought forms, and there's enough thought form energy behind that, then yes, these things are possible and they happen, and there's evidence of it. And to say otherwise, I think, is very disrespectful, because there's more than enough evidence that these things happen, and you can see all these things.
It's happening, guys.
And there are experts.
That's why I'm having this conversation tonight.
Like Malachi Martin.
Because we need to be, hang on.
That
because to defeat it, you need pure intention. You need, if you call it the Holy Spirit, fine. But what gets you to the Holy Spirit is pure intention, love. Sorry to be foofy, but it's just the reality. If you're anchored in trauma, if you're anchored in rage, if you're upset with each other, if you're upset with yourself, then this process cannot flow freely. You will get stuck. You are going to be in a less capable state through which to transfer positive orgone radiation, the Holy Spirit, chi, prana, whatever you call it. So why do you think all the mystics are always like these way chill people that are like, yes, I'm going to. So I'm not trying to do it like mocking impressions, I promise you. But you know what I'm saying? Like the guru, the guys that are part of like these Indian mystical societies, or Confucius says, and acupuncture points. I mean, what is it these people all understood intrinsically that none of us understand? Chi, prana, bioenergetics. That's all bioenergetic science. Spirituality, belief, and the process of belief is psychoenergetics. So you have different variations on energetics. That I've been studying energetics now for like about a good 5 or 6 years, I would say, pretty intensely. And that's the thing that I've learned. I've measured things, and I have way more things I can do within this realm of study. It's just to get to the next level, guys. I'm really hoping this is going to spurn a lot of things here, because the more we understand like what our true power is and why we can't be, those of us who figured it out, we can't be in I hate to borrow Freemasonry things, guys, but I'm going to just now. We can't be involved excessively in the mundane. Okay, that's what they call that. And there's a reason why they use that term, and it can apply to everything we're dealing with here, guys. The mundane are the things that just freeze you, stop you, stall you, lag you, don't let you move on spiritually, make you upset, make you pause and go grrr, instead of, okay, no, I need to let this flow. And it's okay, guys. We're all human. I mean, to say that DOR doesn't exist within human behavior, that we can't let off steam, that's a bunch of nonsense. No, you got to be yourself. You can't just be running around everywhere, just going like love and light. That's spiritual bypassing. So what you've been seeing me do the last couple days, in my mind, is responsible DOR. There's a little DOR in there, guys, but I promise you, I'm priming the DOR pump because I'm trying to bring out the best in these people. I want them to aspire. The people that have disappointed me, I want them to first experience what my friend is so eloquently called, referred to as rebuking, the rebuking process. But I promise you, I want to fill them up with light. I want them to love again. I want them to experience love again. I want them to experience acceptance. And I want them to transfer that on to you. Because when you see how a person has so much capability to destroy, to manifest dark outcomes, to make people feel horrible, and to cause these types of events en masse, then you have to almost stop looking at them completely from your ego and just begin looking them as a toxic energy flow that may have almost nothing to do with them individually. That at least part of what's happening beyond once you get past free will is either a belief or a lack of belief in their ability to stop being that way. So what I try to do here is acknowledge that, guys, the rebuking has to happen. You must be held accountable. You must atone. You must make amends. This is your path to redemption. And those who need this to happen, you need to know how much, I'm going to try to do my best to look here. You need to know how much I love you. And those of you who sit by passively and let the others continue doing it because they're your family or because you're not supposed to say anything against so and so and so and so, you're not doing your part. You must rebuke them too. And you can do it with love. You don't have to do it the way that I did. It might be better that you don't. I have my role, you've got yours. Okay? Sorry to keep interrupting this, guys, because if you want to watch it independently, I'll give you a link to it. That way you don't have to listen to me go blah, blah, blah in between. So back to it.
That deserve respect and to not be mocked because they take a lot of hits publicly for the type of work that they do because people make fun of it. I'm sorry. I saw an article recently on Young Turks that just sort of mocked all these things, and I thought, well, have you really studied the science of it? Because I have, and I'm telling you, this is real. Now, how does that tie into these other things? Because a lot of times we're caught up in this Christianity versus Islam type dynamic. And I'm telling you that in both of these faiths, you have an enormous amount of esoteric symbolism that's common that involves numerology. So like the Hajj, for example, they walk up, they do a couple bows, they have a thing where they go 7 times, they pass around in circles. This is energy work. See what this is? This is energy work. This is thought form energy. These are a group of people collecting around this cube. Now, it's a different type of energy, perhaps, than this works with. Because you have grid energy, you have earth energy, and you have things that are extending above the earth. Now, to say that one is evil and one is good, I think is not understanding what we're dealing with, because they both involve an energy that works with this symbol. That's important to remember. There is a reason why this is such a powerful symbol. And if you do energy work, you'll see this over and over again. You're going to see this over and over again.
I'm going to tell you just, it's hard for me to explain it, guys, but I one time was confronted with something incredibly evil that manifested in front of me in ways that I thought was almost a hallucination, but I now know was capable of being real, and it was real. And I went straight to the Christian symbol. I went straight to the crucifix. I went straight to the Holy Cross. And I'd always been a non believer or a half believer or an atheist until that moment. I went straight to that symbol because the person that was in front of me that was causing me harm was a straight up Luciferian Satanist, a glowingly, admittingly, 100% solid, completely invested in the lifestyle Satanist, confronting me, challenging me. And it was frightening, but I stayed my ground. And I kept on making that cross over and over and over and over again in front of me. And it went away. And before it did, this person, it was a person. This person, I'm not going to say their name. They've moved on now. They're no longer in this physical plane. And it wasn't because of what I did. Don't worry, guys. It wasn't that kind of event. They still did interviews in the media and things like that. They were that big. They know a lot about Satanism and psychological warfare. And they found a way to manifest right in front of me. Being straight up with you, you can call me crazy if you like. I don't give a shit. But I went straight to that symbol. And it was because of what I learned from Malachi Martin. It's because of the things that I'd been reading and listening to, and the people that I was paying attention to at the time that had placed that idea in front of me that, well, you're dealing with a Satanist. It's just science, you know. They like Satan symbols and they hate Christ symbols. So at the time, I was just using the symbol. It was as simple as that. But I never lost like my understanding of the power of the symbol, the thought form entities attached to the symbol, and how it would confront that person that was a Satanist. Did it eradicate them? No, but it cleared the area. It cleared them out of my environment. And I did that not through just like angrily doing it. I wanted them gone, but I stayed my ground and I just kept on making this symbol. And at the end, they kind of did this. I'll expand my image here. The whole time they had this sort of like mocking. They were, it's hard to like they were just like this sort of like, I can do better than you. You're such a small mind. You know, it was like that, you know? And at the end of it though, they had respect for me, which I think was also a part of their trick. You know, that was, I think, designed a little bit to fool me into almost admiring their respecting them, which I refuse to do. And now they're dead. I didn't do it. I'm just saying that was it. It took like about I think they died about a year or two ago. I'm not going to say who this person is. All I'll tell you is that as far as modern Satanism goes and people that were promoting it and have experience in certain institutions, military and whatnot, this person was a major figurehead of it. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to give their name any more attention. But a lot of folks here probably already know who they are. And this was something that I shared with others in my world at the time to where, hey, accept it or not, guys, it doesn't really matter. It could have all been in my mind because, well, here's the deal. The demon attachments, the possessions are, in fact, manifestations of the mind. But the reason why they change physical reality in ways that we all know and acknowledge, but you can't explain, is the process of bioenergetics. It explains all paranormal. The things that we look, it's so easy for a non-believer of anything paranormal to go like, yeah, whatever, that could have been a camera trick, or that could just be you saying it, or you made that up in your mind. Oh, well, fine. The other two things you can argue are deceptions, but making something up in your mind actually programs the plasma field. And everything begins in the plasma field. Every invention, every building, every car that gets built, every road that gets built, every single path or whatever that gets dug or anything, guys, begins in the plasma field. It begins as an idea, does it not? Does it not? This is how you know bioenergetics is where bioenergetics, energetics, this science that I'm explaining to you, everything starts there. Then it becomes physical reality. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? We don't always know that. We don't always know, if a tree falls down in the forest, does anyone hear it necessarily? But okay, it all starts in the plasma field. And I'll tell you how this, like why I know this. Because something as basic as architecture. All right. How did your house get built? It started in the plasma field. Try to argue otherwise. Because thoughts become things. An idea happened. Somebody made a sigil, blueprints. They manifested their idea. It started here. The emission of the thought form entity was a transmit receive relationship going boom, 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 boom. Programming. They put the idea to paper, present that idea to somebody else. They begin getting things from the biofield. It's called the Trinity of Human Energy, those unfamiliar with my material, which is to say that there's three forms of it, just like everything. You've got your physical, non-visible layer, which is everything underneath your skin. It's like your skeletal structure. You have everything here, your physical, visible, second of the Trinity of Human Energies. The third is the biofield, the non-physical, non-visible. So it all starts in the non-physical, non-visible. You don't even know a building exists before the projections created in your mind, for crying out loud. You can't even conceive of it until it's become an idea first. It always starts as an idea. And the idea is non-visible, is it not? Until somebody makes it visible. That means that everything in the plasma field is going like this. Like, you see me here, but I come into physical resonance through belief. Boom, 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 boom. See, that's the plasma beating down like the rainbow spectrum, going boom, 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 from non-visible to visible. Boom, 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 boom. So it's the same thing for the building. The idea comes up, you put it to paper, paper gets shared with all these people, the blueprints. They all look at the blueprints, they go, I know what my role is. Do you know what your role is? Yeah, I'm laying the foundation. Yeah, I'm building all the walls. Yeah, I'm going to put the roof on. Yeah, I'm doing all the electrical wiring. Yeah, I'm doing the plumbing. But none of it began as physical matter. It all began as non-physical matter. So does this, I mean, is it what I say it is or not? So all right. I'm sorry to keep interrupting it, guys, but that's kind of why I do these this way. I use this as my template, and I usually add things. But if you want to watch it, I'm going to put the link in here in a second. I'll be right back.
But you see, you're also going to see this. There's grounding, there's energy. So I'm not telling you one is better than the other. I'm not telling you one is more valid. I'm not telling you one faith is good, bad, or indifferent. That's not what I'm here for. I'm asking you to respect that others are doing energy work just the same as you. It doesn't look the same, but it is a belief system attachment. Anything that is deeply what you would consider to be demonic or dark that gets inside people, it's energy. Just like Bruce Lee, in those movies, he talked about that, you talk about, Jediism and Star Wars, right? All these things, the chi, the prana. So remember, this is all this is talking about. It's not telling you to accept a duality world. It's telling you to appreciate the dance of energies. That's it. Oil and water create.
Hey, I love asking people this one, and I want you to think about this. All right, one is yin, the other one's yang. What color is separating them? Is it black or is it white? It's a trinity. The aether, the non-visible. White, visible, black, non-visible. I don't know where you want to define it. But then there's the Holy Spirit. It's even in yin and yang. It's not just in the Christian cross. The Holy Spirit is what's around one dot, what's around the other dot, the border, the shape. Yeah. Thank you. I love it when people have that reaction. This is my favorite philosophical conundrum. Yeah. Awesome, isn't it? I love that. Thank you for responding that way, because that's the exact thing I want people to think. Whoa. Because that's what it did to me. The first time I thought of it, I said, whoa.
An energetic dance. And sometimes people, the thought form energies that they're working on is trying to place energies back to where they need to be because they've been released. And I think you'll find that in both of these faiths. Neither one of these are faiths that I personally directly identify with as my own belief system, but I do feel connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I can tell you. I respect these faiths. I respect Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are all things in all these different cultures.
See,
okay?
We're so interconnected, everybody. We're so interconnected.
Because you're not going to relate to them. You know, I can't just walk into this symbol and know what it means. But if I study long enough, I'll see commonalities in that, in this. And this has nothing to do with a one of everything religion per se, because all these things have to exist the way that they are, and they're all valid, and they're all needed right now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Again, guys, I know that a lot of people from certain faiths struggle with that. But Malachi Martin himself said, people on a godly path are not denied the heavenly kingdom within his interpretation of Christianity. If you believe in God and follow a godly path as you know it, no one's going to damn you to hell, according to his belief system. That's why I found him to be such a beautiful human being. It's a big part of what motivates that. He never, in his interpretation, whether you agree with it's accurate or not, never in his heart did he say, well, I believe everybody's going to go to hell who doesn't think the way that I do if they don't accept it as Jesus. So I'm not trying to soften any of you to not accepting it that way or anything. What I'm telling you is that don't get so hung up on that aspect of it. Just ask yourself, is somebody living a godly life as much as they know how? Are they doing their best? Are they trying? I don't believe that no God that I choose to believe in. And I believe I believe God is this universal plasma field. That's why all the philosophy matches across cultures. And I would even make the other argument, guys, that just like blood groups are different and they represent different whatever, that all these different thoughts on yin yang, whether it's chi, whether it's prana, whether it's bioplasma, whether it's the Holy Spirit, what it really should teach you is that we are extremely interconnected. We actually perceive reality quite similarly, but from a different cultural lens. I have a whole explanation as to why I think that is, that I don't want to start right now, but think of it more in terms of like, we did not used to be able to fly, from one country to another, or take a train, or even take a horse from one side of the country to another. And somewhere along the line, it's like timelines got mixed up, or one group was never supposed to interact with another group, yet the core philosophy of what they were believing in is effectively the same. There's always this trinity of, whether it's the yin and the yang, being black, white, what's in between, Father, Son, Holy Spirit is what's in between, chi, prana, explaining the energy flow of what you cannot visibly see. What do all these things involve? Faith. It is all faith. Faith is believing in absence of evidence. You don't see that something's separating the yin and the yang, but you know something is, right? Is it black or white? It's neither. The Holy Spirit. Watch Alan Watt. His whole thing on yin and yang. Wow. If I play it, I'll get copyright struck, and I can't risk that right now. But all right.
They're all needed. This idea that cooperation equals homogenation or becoming all the same is a misnomer, because we have a lot of important work to do right now. So the Buddhists, they call tulpa an unreal, illusory, or mind-created apparition to build, construct a conjured thing, a phantom in thought form. Thought form, see? Because when you go to a church and you pray as a group, that's thought form energy. So are the things that you manifest, are they magical emanation? Are they conjured things? What's real? Because your thought forms, they do become things. That's the reason why you pray. That's the reason why we all pray in some form. It just takes on a different appearance to others. I don't mean to exclude anything here. There's certainly other belief systems that fall within this that are very similar, that integrate all these same types of theologies. Even in things that are science or fringe science, you're dealing with the same thing, right? Orgone, POR.
I knew before I knew, guys. I was so stupid when I did this article.
Some people, this is how they relate to these concepts. You're not going to relate to them the minute you show them this, because they've been conditioned to reject this. They've also been conditioned to reject this. They've also been conjectured to think this is stupid, you know? But maybe you can approach them with this to help them understand what's happening, because they're dealing with something that's thought form. They're going to deny it's happening the same way. See, they'll deny this.
Yeah, I just wanted to take out a second to acknowledge that that's pretty brilliant. Just the guy in the crowd. That's a pretty cool way of thinking there. I like to think God shattered himself into billions of little pieces, and we are all their parts. Our job is to make our way back to him or it. Kind of a cool. I like that. That's a cool way to look at it. God is the oneness that we all come from, and it's the energy, the Holy Spirit, or the chi, the prana, whatever you call it. Orgone is flowing through all of us. I learned about it by not accepting spirituality right away and looking at it scientifically and bioenergetically. But then once I got past all that, I said, wow, I see evidence of God everywhere. This is the Holy Spirit I'm dealing with here. That's what I'm measuring. I'm measuring the force of the Holy Spirit, and I'm just calling it orgone and life energy. So yeah, kudos. I like that.
This is a real thing. They'll deny this is a real thing. This is a real thing, but they're all real.
It's real.
If they weren't real, we wouldn't have the problem we do right now.
That's right. Who is this guy?
So, if you understand what I'm talking about, then just know that I get it, or I'm trying to get it. And if I misjudge people that have been working in this sphere, because it's an extremely difficult place to be, and dealing with people's behaviors and understanding what's going on with them. All of you, I want you to know I understand better what's happening now. And I want to thank you for offering me this guidance from a distance, because I appreciate everything that you did for me. And I'm working on trying to understand it better, and I want to be a part of the healing process. And I'm working on doing that with myself. And I hope that in what I learn through healing myself and correcting things that are wrong, the things that happened in my own case, that'll provide solutions for others. And thank you for listening.
All right. Let me catch up to the comments here. But so hopefully, so that was something I was trying to do to sort of help people understand. I added a lot to it. Obviously, it's not that long of a thing, and I interrupted it a million times. But if you want to see it from start to finish without me going blah 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 in between, yeah, that's the link I put in the description, or I put right in there. Or I guess depending on your browser, you might be looking at it there. I guess you could be looking at it there. Mm, it's interesting that you say that, Antoine. They really aren't, just so you know. I know that, again, if you want to be cynical about it, but I design cell towers, and there's no deliberate placement of them on um, ley lines. Now, what I can tell you is that I've discovered that when I went back and reviewed some of the placements of them, oh yeah, they lined up. So it was never an intentional thing. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. The process of building cell towers is done based on customer demand and a cost analysis, all processes that I was personally involved with. If you're unfamiliar, I actually designed cell towers for years, and I was motivated during my um, understanding of what they could be doing to change orgone fields is sort of what caused me to quit my job, honestly. um, I started to see it, and I started to think that maybe some of the people out there that were bringing concerns about it weren't entirely crazy. The problem is that there's still a lot of things out there that are put out there as like sort of like these negative intention ideologies that just forget the fact that a lot of us are just guys or gals or whatever that are just doing our jobs. We're going through the motions, and we're just not thinking that menacing. Okay. I'm being straight up with you. I was part of a team for several years. I designed in the neighborhood of 75 cell towers. I could show you where all of them are. They're spread across Washington and Oregon. But to your point, Antoine, I did, in fact, notice that one of these towers that I built is on some really strange energy. And it's a benevolent energy. It's positive orgone radiation, definitely, that the tower is near. Yet everything that you're saying about the way it would change, like the ley line or the whatever, it didn't really happen that way. What I've learned is because I designed the cell tower, this is hypothetical, but I 100% believe it now. Because I put my thought form entities into the tower, that tower in that location has my signature. I can use it bioenergetically, etherically, to create links that otherwise would not exist in the aether, because it was somewhat my invention and the invention of those closest to me. And so those of us that took part in the manifestation of this thing that started in the biofield as an idea, thinking up, okay, the tower needs to be there, placing it on a place that did in fact wind up having, yes, significant energies of the orgone variety, it didn't diminish that energy. It's just simply now acting as a re-radiator of said energies. And I would argue that the inventor's ideas and thoughts are part of the binding layer that would be retransmitted within the orgone field. Totally an unknown thing outside of the electromagnetic signature of it. The electromagnetic signature of it is 100% easy to measure, and that was my job. I mean, I had spectrum analyzers. I had to tune these things. I had to optimize them. I designed them. I've done all kinds of work within the tower industry, from maintaining base stations right up to designing them. And in the end of it all, guys, I just don't think that they themselves are all evil in and of themselves. I just don't take that belief system, and I don't think that they necessarily change the orgone signatures radically. But here's the thing. Um, well, let me put it this way, guys. I'm not going to say they don't change the orgone signature and or whatever, but you can measure certain things, and without a doubt, if you change the electromagnetic field, anything like where there's a high power base station, which is in the bottoms of those towers, of course, yeah, orgone. I don't know. I guess you could say it's easy to say that like maybe the POR spectrum when you're closest to a tower might create such a disruption electromagnetically that you could have an inverse of POR to DOR. I'm open to that, and I'll study it in earnest, and without making any assumptions about yay or nay. But I think in the case that I'm discussing with you, I just observed that what it did was it created energy links that are just nearly impossible. If I hadn't done the tower, the links would not all be happening. And I believe that the links that happened that bind that area where I built the tower, it connects all these things globally, pyramids. Like where I put this tower, you guys, it's so trippy. It was not done intentionally. It was completely random to a degree. The tower had to go somewhere on that basic slope to serve the lake that it was covering. But I learned way after the fact, long after the fact, that the alignments, the ley line alignments, not only did a ton of them go to this lake where the tower was built, but they come from all over the place. They came from the Altai pyramid in Russia, the Bosnian pyramid in Bosnia, um, a house that I lived on in Seattle area lines up with it at one of these 33 degree, 303, 333-degree lines. And they all intersect at this area in Oregon called Lake Wallowa, or Wallowa Lake, excuse me, where I built the tower. And so you have all of the naturally formed intersections that pre-existed anything involving me or anything I ever did. And I didn't even know about them until years after I designed that tower. Then I learned that me placing the tower there, in my opinion, and through my research, that's part of why I found all the ley lines. My invention is out there like another pyramid in a way, affecting the energy field, but it did manifest here first and resonate into physical matter through me, my coworkers, our shared ideologies, all in the tower. Okay. Then all the alignments just happened. I found them, but I didn't know about them, then build the tower. The tower got built. I left my job. I've been gone from it for many, many years. In fact, I left that design job back in 2012, January 2012. And I'd say that tower probably got built about 2011, 2010-ish at the latest. Maybe 2011, I think, is when it got built. And I didn't even study bioenergetics. I wasn't studying ley lines. I didn't know anything about ley lines until 2015. Then I learned about all the intersections. So my hypothesis is that yes, it did affect it. So I don't think that what you're saying is wrong, Antoine. I'm saying that you would just be the assumption that it's our intention to do it is not correct. Not a criticism, just so you know. What I'm saying though is that it has merit only in a sense that I think that if you would have to trust me on this one, I guess. So that's up to you. Um, I can just tell you that's just how it worked. Okay. And it's amazing because there's way more going out there. You know what I'm saying? If I showed you, I mean, guys, I'm going to do a video presentation soon, but I want to do it right. Every time I sit down to do it, I get something distracts me or I get pulled away. So one of the next things I'm going to do is a whole video presentation on Wallowa Lake, Oregon, Chief Joseph. I've already done some things on it, but I haven't even explained, like, even the last article I did on it, I still hadn't even discovered all the magic out there. And it is just absolutely a total miracle. You see, like, peaks of mountains integrate with the tower that I built. And as you go from peak to peak to peak to peak, it forms the Fibonacci spiral. So you see the pattern of that we all existing within the universe out there. And then all of the lines that intersect inward. I can show you a quick, let me give you a preview because I don't want this to be like me just saying it. I want to show you what I'm talking about. Bear with me here, so I got to find it. Here it is. All right. So I don't. It's because of the way Google Earth works, folks. It's hard for me to like show you all the intersecting lines. So I'm going to do my best. And by the way, this is an old one that I've done. There are new energy links. There are new ley lines that I've discovered out there that aren't even listed on here. But do you understand what I'm telling you with this map? So right here is Mount Howard, and then right down here, this is Wallowa Lake, Oregon. So I built this tower where you see this like blue symbol here. So it goes boom, that's one peak, goes to this tower that I built. So this is a naturally formed thing. That's something that's artificial. That's a naturally formed Wallowa Peak to Sacagawea Peak to Anaroy Peak. Then what's trippy is right here, I wish I could show you guys. There's no way I could do it without it crashing the machine. So I'm just gonna have to do it in a video presentation. But right here, what you see, it says Altai 15 degrees, Bosnian 330 degrees, and the Richland Mason 123. Okay, these are energy lines, ley lines from the Bosnian pyramid, a Masonic lodge, and they're big into at a high level energetics, guys. If you wonder what their voodoo and their magic is, look, they're not all bad people, they're not all good people. Lodge to lodge are different, but just like, there's some good priests and there's some bad priests. There's some whatever. It's the same things in Freemasonry. The difference is that they always get scapegoated and everybody calls them Luciferians. But if that's true or not, I don't know, guys. But I've learned a lot from Freemasonry and studying their perspective on energetics. So I'm not one. I'll never be one. But I also don't trash on them either. I don't trash on Catholics. You know, it doesn't mean that everybody's an innocent, guys. So let's just, we just can't be so mono whatever in our thinking. But anyways, this is an energy line from a house I lived in growing up, and then the Bosnian pyramid crosses that line. So you see, what I did is the places I lived, my personal energy signature is in the energy lines. They exist in the cavity. Your bioplasma will flow through the earth cavity. Your bioplasma flows through the biofield and the ionosphere, both. And when you have this magical bridge between them, then yeah, like you're able to create these loops of your thought form entities that feed both into the earth cavity as well as into the ionospheric, bioplasma field. And then things vibrate into physical resonance way easier. It's a little bit like you have this perfect hack alignment of your base chakra at the ground level and your crown chakra. You're able to get all the ionospheric information, but you have the rooting, the grounding by virtue of your invention. So yes, there is something going on relative to that. It just wasn't deliberate. That's why I was like, whoa, how did this happen, man? And then I was just studying, like, why did it happen? I know these synchronicities exist for a reason. Like, when you get confronted with this just made me fall in love with the world. It's healed so much. This discovery, I promise you, healed so much in my heart and my soul. It made me love people again in ways that I hadn't loved them. It made me more open. It made me more understanding. That's what energetics does when it's in the positive orgone radiation spectrum. It just does that to you. And so it wasn't just that, guys, that there is a pyramidal structure on the coast of Oregon where I got engaged to be married. And again, it didn't work out and we wound up not getting married, but I had very strong feelings for this woman when I was out there. And then the place where I asked her to marry me, it turns out it lines up with this too, on an energy line from that hug point pyramid in a very esoteric way that I can't get deeply into. And then you have Mount Tabor, which is an area in Portland, Oregon. And again, there's many Mount Tabors around the world, but I'm speaking about one where, again, there was a Freemason statue up there, and that's part of it. That lines up out there. And then there's again, there's another intersection in the top corner there. The whole thing, by the way, all these energy lines forms into this Fibonacci spiral. What made this even trippier was then I learned that Bruce Lee filmed Fists of Fury in Macaw, and I have another slide on this one that I'll show you. That after I developed all these slides, like a year after these were already completed, and I'd found all these other alignments, I found more alignments. And these ones weren't even Mason lodges or churches or pyramids or anything. It was where Bruce Lee filmed a major fight scene in Fists of Fury. That's when my mind blew completely. And I'm going to show you that slide so you can see how it integrates with this one. Then I knew, guys, yeah, I mean, we're existing in something really bizarre and who knows what the hell's happening. But like, once you see the majesty and the mysticism and the miracles, and it's just hard to be upset. It's hard to be angry for very long once you put yourself back into studying these things, at least for me. So I'm going to get the Bruce Lee one up. So what I'm telling you is, it says Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury was filmed here in Macau. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Macau. Somebody correct me. The northeast azimuth. So again, that would be this. So I don't know if you can see. So what you do if you're trying to like know what I'm talking about, an azimuth is formed by placing a center point like in the circle. Okay. And then you go, all right, I'm going to point that way. And your needle up when it's true north is at 0 degrees. So when you go like that, it's about 33 degrees. This number 3 is something that was used by ancient civilizations for alignments. It goes to every ancient pyramid that I find that always has these 33, 303, 330-degree alignments. I don't know why. Still don't have a reason for that, guys. It's just what I've learned. It's a pattern that is undeniable and absolute. I don't question anymore. The power of threes is strong. Okay? Trinities, threes, trinities, because everybody believes in trinities because they are at the fabric of life. They're the core of everything, the Trinity. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, whatever you call it. All right. So I said the northeast azimuth is 33.33 degrees and aligns with my childhood homes near Seattle, Washington, and then on to Wallowa Lake, Oregon, where I designed a cell tower. With alignments, now again, this is where it gets trippy because it doesn't just go to Wallowa Lake, then it precisely crosses over the same place at Wallowa Lake where the Bosnian pyramid hits the Wallowa Lake also, and multiple Freemason lodges, which again, why would that happen, guys? Why is that relevant? Because the Masons are super into the number 33. Now, I would argue that you have Masons that don't really know why 33 is important to them, but they're always trying to reach a level of knowledge and attain the esoteric schooling. And then once they figure it all out, they realize that, yeah, they had to get to level 33. That was what they were trying to attain the whole time, going back and forth to those lodges, studying the books, going through the rituals, always trying to make it to 33, 33, 33, 33, 33, 33. Thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. You're all together in the Mason Lodge, all those Freemasons. Hey, are you any Freemasons in here? Don't worry, I'm not going to jump on you. You're safe here. What I'm saying is that they, just like people that focus on a prayer cross in a church, you do things within the Holy Spirit. Freemasons sit in those lodges, which are almost always on geomagnetically significant areas with a lot of energy flow. They choose them for a reason, of the ones that are smarter and more apt. They then they get a whole bunch of people to be in their club, and they all focus and concentrate on the number 33, and it manifests in physical reality things that, again, thoughts become things. If you join this social group, this social fraternity, and they're like, man, when you get to that level 33, the whole world's going to open up for you. Okay. Yeah, I get it, guys. I get it. All right. So I'm not trying to have a conversation about Freemasonry here. It's just about discussing the basic levels of science with it and everything like that. I don't like what a lot of people do with Christianity and the Holy Spirit. Okay. So, but I also love what a lot of people do with it. I'm just not trying to focus on that. But again, there's no denying that there's a power to the number 33 and 33.33. So all I do is, just like with Catholics, I don't join their church. I try to have as good a relationship and be as friendly as I can with those things, respecting what they teach me and respecting the schooling, and then offering my help. And I would say the same thing about any benevolent Freemason, besides those who might practice a more Nazi form or corrupted form of it, which is probably what you're talking about. When you get Nazis involved with Freemasonry, it's not even Freemasonry. It's just corruption. It's conspiracy. It's everything else like that. And yeah, Nazis, it's part of what they do, guys. Now, I don't want to get into the Nazi thing today, but yeah, they hijack Freemason lodges. I would argue that hijacked Freemason lodges are probably being run by Oddfellows and Rebeccas, and you just don't know it. Whole nother discussion that would take like a whole 2-hour presentation in and of itself. So, but all right. So what I'm explaining to you with this chart here, guys, just to get back to the core topic, is this originates clear over in Macau near China and winds up at 33.33 when you follow it all the way around to the other side of the world. That blue line that starts with Bruce Lee going in that garden where all that happens in Fist of Fury, it has a 33.33 degree alignment to Wallowa Lake, that slide I showed you earlier with Chief Joseph and the Fibonacci spiral. And I'll get into that part next. This is where you actually see the alignment. Okay, so I showed you where it originated earlier. Now here's where all the energy lines are when you see them together near Wallowa Lake. These are all the ones that are relevant that I found, and I think I've even found more since then. I'd have to go in and look right now. What I'm telling you is that line I showed you earlier from Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury in Macau winds up here, 33.33 degrees, and aligns with the Bosnian pyramid line. It has a perfect intersection with the Bosnian pyramid. Now, would you ever expect Bosnians to be super into Bruce Lee or to have anything like whatever? Like, again, the whole world loved Bruce Lee. But now I'm going to show you something that might actually make you think about how are we really, do these lines, are they irrelevant? Are ley lines irrelevant? Absolutely not, because they carry, they help reinforce. They are like a boosting high energy carrier wave or carrier line for bioplasma and thoughts become things. And this is why I believe this, because somewhere in history, someone decided, and I just discovered this, to place in Bosnia a huge statue that's a monument to Bruce Lee. I'm going to show you. But just real quick, so in this area where the Fibonacci spiral and all this here goes, this line right here, this blue line, this is the Bruce Lee 33.33 degree line as it lines up with the Bosnian pyramid at 330 degrees. Bruce Lee 33.33 degrees, Bosnian pyramid 330. So it's not even the angle in essence, it's the fact that the angle and the perception of the number 3 is what's bridging all of this together. Even the ones that say 1, 2, 3, the inverse of 1, 2, 3 is 303 in degrees. Okay. Altai pyramid is in there because the at 15 degrees, because that's the alignment of the pyramid. It was true north. And then when you adjust for where it got thrown off, it's at 15 degrees now. But the Altai pyramid probably at its inception was true north at 0 degrees. And it's just been thrown off azimuth. Okay. So now it's at that. I don't want to get too deep into all that, but the point is, to me, this is when I was like, how is this happening? This is such a freaking miracle. I don't even know how to explain this. How do I even, like, I know this, like, even now, I hope that you guys get this. I hope this makes sense to you and resonates with you, because it is pretty miraculous when you get down to it. But how does it happen and why does it happen? All right. So I did an article on this, and I think I'll just play it now. I'm going to get this off the screen here. Let's see. That done. I'm going to play you guys Energetics Part 1, because that's really what you're going to need. Hang on. That's where I do a good explanation of the very basics of energetics relative to things like pyramid structures, Wilhelm Reich and orgone, and what the term archaeometry means. So I would, archaeometry would be like thoughts become things, trying to put things out into the collective consciousness to manifest things into physical reality as part of the study of archaeometry.
Banker.
All right, so I'm gonna let this load. All right, so this is energetics part one, and I will give you guys a playlist because this is kind of like my prerequisite. Let me see if I can say it again. My prerequisite, if you really want to get what I'm saying, and like now it's just kind of been like, I think I get it. You start with this, and this is the basic education of thoughts become things. I know it's 12 parts, the whole series. Actually, I need to add one article. It's 11 parts, or no, wait, I can't remember if I have 11 or 12 of them now. I've done a lot of the energetic series, guys. Every time I learn something new and significant that I need to add on to it, I put it in the energetics one, two, whatever, like, right. So I'm only going to play part one for you right now because this is like a fundamental of the education if you're not already familiar with it, or at least it gives you my perspective. I don't claim to be the expert, but I will say this: there's not that many people that study this the way that I do, and of them I think I could keep up, even though if I have a basic level of science education. I don't have like biology or college education in that realm, but having 20 years as a radio frequency engineer, you do begin to understand these things way intrinsically at a electromagnetic level. So that's still really valuable education to have when it comes to getting this from a different perspective. So I'm just another way of looking at it. It doesn't mean that I'm right, but here's my opinion.
All right. In the process of researching an esoteric angle originating from the Fontana, California area, which I discovered while during my research on the Zodiac crimes, which I would encourage you to go back and look at those clips if you're unfamiliar. But basically, I've been following some research involving esoteric angles and occult activity. And that led me to the Fontana area, where actually I have quite a bit of family who have roots there, and so I know a little bit more than average about most people about some of the local things that are going on there, even though I didn't really ever live there or anything. But I visited enough and things like that to kind of know things about it. And one of the things that I noticed was kind of interesting is that Fontana Road, a major thoroughfare, has kind of been there for a long time. It runs through the middle of town at precisely 44.66 degrees. If you get out your Google Earth tool and draw an angle, you'll notice it follows at 44.66, which is pretty specific. But the reason why I think it's actually at 66, and that's not just whatever you want to call it, a miscalculation, is because not only does it follow Fontana Road, but it actually crosses Route 66 on its way out of Fontana and San Bernardino County area. So and then it continues on and crosses over like Twin Peaks, Lake Arrowhead area, and then continues on towards Prim, Nevada. And so as I was following that 44.66 degree line, and it took me out to Prim, Nevada, I couldn't help but notice the solar array that's out there. And it's kind of a unique setup. And when you zoom in on it, you'll notice it has some pretty unique features. It kind of looks like three circles, and they have a whole series of solar arrays that go around it. And as you zoom in, you can kind of really see what's kind of going on out there. But the reason why this piqued my curiosity is just because I think in terms of like how um, a communications engineer does. I think in terms of how would something work if this was something other than a solar array, for example. So I just kind of had an intuition that there's a tunnel network that extends between that area of San Bernardino County and continues along where Fontana is and heads out towards Nevada, crossing through Las Vegas and the Henderson area. And what makes me think that is that I've just found too many markers and things like that out there that kind of indicate tunnels and underground facilities. And then as I kind of traced the suspected routes of those into this area, where it seems almost like it works almost like a communication network, where there's pipelines that go into like a main line and then head out towards Prim. So I'm thinking maybe that's what's going on. And then I'll get into a decrypt on Prim. There's a whole bunch of things going out there. I'm going to have to split this up into a few different presentations, but just kind of consider this more of a broad overview as to what I think might be going on here.
it just seems to me like there's a possible bioenergetic system, just because I followed the research, Wilhelm Reich, and I've studied these things a little bit myself, and have seen just examples of bioenergetics at work, to where I'm at. I need to find more test equipment and be, in a more lab oriented environment before I can really tell you, what I completely believe about bioenergetics and orgone. But I think that what might be going on out here is that you're dealing with energetics at a POR and DOR spectrum. And I'm just going to read this over really quick, the research of Wilhelm Reich, to give you a quick idea of what I'm talking about here. And before I get into the patterns too. So, but basically, um, it says, with further research, Wilhelm Reich found that orgone energy is responsible for storms and bad weather. Dead orgone, or DOR, was the term used to describe the dead energy found within violent thunderstorms and hurricanes. This dead energy was also found within people as well. Active people had plenty of orgone energy, while those who were depressed or sullen had an excess of DOR energy. And so there's some slides that I can show you where when POR is emanating from the body, it externalizes. So the signal, like bioenergetically, releases from the core of the body, the center of your chakra system, and outward. And it's a positive release. When a person's stressed or in fear or in an anxiety state, that it's the opposite. DOR causes the muscles to contract, and you go inward. So your energy is actually going in on itself, as opposed to emanating. So Reich is said to have been a brilliant man, credited with discovering the highly controversial orgone energy. Orgone energy is also known as life or orgasmic energy and is very different from more ordinary electromagnetic energy. Reich supposedly provided the existence of orgone energy in various lab experiments and wrote his findings in several scientific journals. He claimed that orgone energy could cure cancer, a finding that didn't find wide acceptance with his colleagues. Reich also stated that orgone energy has related to cosmic energy and the Newtonian concept of the ether. Needless to say, his theories were widely criticized by his fellow scientists. After extensive research, Reich finally developed a device that would break up concentrations of DOR energy. When set up with a weather balloon, this device would dissipate or deflect thunderstorms. Armed with Reich's Stormbuster, the US government created a device called a radiosonde. The device consisted of several sensors and a transmitter that could broadcast across several bands to either build up orgone energy or disrupt DOR energy. With it, the government could control the weather. It should be pointed out that any device capable of transmitting both orgone and DOR energy could be used to affect people as well. It is possible that the Phoenix Project was also looking into methods of population control. Supposedly, the Soviet Union had conducted extensive experiments on select populations by broadcasting orgone or DOR energy into the area to try and alter the emotional content of the population. So, this got me thinking in terms of the Giza pyramids and what they might have been, as far as in tandem with the research of Wilhelm Reich, that perhaps what he was really doing with bioenergetics was just tapping into the technology that was being used by the Egyptians in the pyramids. By that, I mean, when you kind of look at the structure of pyramids and the granite and everything that's in there, it's kind of reflective like waveguide. And so in telecommunications, waveguide is like these systems of, where there's materials inside it to where the signal can kind of have it follows a certain designed path, right, as far as the way the signal behavior acts, and it just sends the signal through the microwave area here, right? So I don't want to get too deep into the technicals of it, but just think of it more as like a tunnel system where the energy passes through, and that's how microwave works. And just like when you're doing path-to-path communications, to where one dish points to the other dish and they can talk to one another, and also when you don't have another dish on the other side, it just fries it. It's kind of a similar concept, right? One dish, you're just pointing at something to cook it. If it's two dishes that are point to point, they're trying to communicate to one another. So what I think might be going on potentially, just as a broad overview here, is that there might be a tunnel system that connects areas of Southern California into Prim, and that part of their design is specifically to transmit orgone at the DOR spectrum, which is bioenergetics, and that they're really just potentially borrowing from all of the designs of the Giza pyramids and what their true intention was. Because I've had a long intuition, I'm sure a lot of other people have, and mind you, none of this is original ideas here. I'm just telling you that a lot of people have speculated that the king's and queen's chambers weren't necessarily places where people stayed or slept or were buried, but they were energy devices. And I think there might be something to that. especially when you start studying the concept of what Wilhelm Reich was talking about a little bit more in depth, involving that effectively POR is sort of life energy or orgasmic energy. So when you really get down to it, there might have been the whole purpose behind designating king and queen might have been specifically to discuss how the spectrum of orgasm energy operates and how it can be perhaps harnessed and then redirected as a healing mechanism. So when you kind of look at the layout of the pyramids, this kind of lends credibility to this as a theory. And then when you integrate what potentially could be done as far as a weaponized, or as far as just pulling off of anxiety signatures, fear signatures, trauma signatures, and taking that bioenergetic signature and funneling down through cave systems, which act like which I'm sure are being redesigned, or if it's happening right, they're probably have a specific structure to funnel the bioenergetics through there. And to those who doubt this is a real thing, you can probably
because I know like people in my industry probably watch this and go like, dude, what the hell is going on here? Oh, they probably watch it and go, dude, what is like, why are you comparing like bioenergy to a waveguide in a microwave? No, it's not that size. Just this thing I'm showing you here. I was just trying to use it as a metaphor, like a brief metaphor for just discussing it. Where is that? Anyways, it's this thing you see like right here. That's actually like how the links go on microwaves from point to point on a backhaul. And I was just trying to use the example of how this type of signal passes through waveguide. But the system that I'm talking about, I don't think it's literally this. I'm just trying to use it as a metaphor. So sorry, it's just one of those things that I know because I think I'm getting the attention from some of my old peers. I don't want them thinking that I have some weird, crude understanding of it. It's just that I'm trying to make it simpler for the average audience. That's all.
Find online clips where people have actually bottled, and Wilhelm Reich bottled and was able to actually contain this energy, and that it took on the appearance of like a purple light when it was bottled. So he was able to, in his experiments, actually power devices and actually run electronics. You see, so when you add in the concepts of that, you have modern day devices called radiosondes that we have used and that has been acknowledged that the Weather Service uses to pulse megahertz signals into the atmosphere. And I can show you examples of those here. It lends credibility to this as a potential theory. And then when you look, just as a pattern recognition person, when you just kind of study the structure of how these solar arrays have been placed.
Oh, I just want to share something with you guys. They've been in the news and on YouTube lately, this exact solar array. It's now been revealed in recent years, since I've been doing my disclosures, that it is the most ineffective solar farm pretty much on the planet. It just seems to exist just to exist. Google funded a lot of that solar array out there, and it's not really doing jack, just so you know. It's a big, ugly, dangerous mess that just shines all over the place, and we would probably be better off without it. I think what they've learned, yeah, I know that's never popular to say, but that particular solar farm, I think, is just pure toxic. I think it's bioenergy manipulation, and nobody would ever have the balls to call it that because, well, it's always cell towers, isn't it? No, not really. I mean, yeah, cell towers are playing a part in changing Oregon, guys. I don't doubt that. But if you want to talk about things that could potentially be something other than something benevolent, look at some of these solar farms, especially the ones that operate like the ones on state line Nevada, California. That to me is a serious bioenergetic manipulation scheme. I think it deals with ionospheric bounce and things like that. Now, proving that out, whole different topic. But I personally don't trust it. Every time I've been out there, I'm like, I think there's something else going on here other than solar power. And sure enough, as soon as I started doing my material, which I've been doing on this topic for years, you can see, guys, the timestamp on this. I'm not trying to make myself all whatever, but that's going on 4 years nearly that I made that article. And I knew about this before, and I was already generating slides about it. And I've been out there. I actually spent considerable time in that region. And I'm letting you know that it's completely ineffective at producing clean energy in a cost-effective way. The cost to maintain it is insanely expensive. It has had multiple accidents. It's a total disaster of a project that failed. And it kind of begs the question, why is it there? It's probably not doing things to power things as much as it's doing things to ionospherically bounce signals that might actually be able to harm people. That's personally something that I think is very worth exploring from the right group. I don't have the resources to do that. I don't think I could even accumulate them at this point. I'm just saying that those who can and should and know how to do it, you may want to take a look at that. So,
It's almost like they were mimicking the Giza pyramids as part of the design, that they
an
are
inversion.
borrowing heavily from it, or just merely creating a replication of what's going on out there in a more modern form using modern materials. So it's something to consider, I think. And there's things that would back this up, as far as like, what do you want to call it? There's entertainment that I've noticed that seems to be focused on Prim, Nevada. And I started thinking in terms of like, what types of telecommunications would they be providing to go into these types of networks? Who would be supporting a project like this? Who would be involved in that kind of thing? So I thought it was worth investigating at a bare minimum so that we could, find out what might be going on here in more depth. But I don't want to get too deep into that part right now. I'd rather just focus on, discussing bioenergetics at this level. What are the possibilities? What are some of the methodologies that could be used to transmit bioenergetic signatures and bioenergetic concentrated energies between locations, that type of thing. So again, this is going to be kind of like a part one, and I just wanted to introduce people to the concepts of what I'm talking about here and get some of the thoughts going a little bit, and then I'm going to start discussing more specific, things involving potential connections to entertainment, how Hollywood might have a system through which to communicate things involving Prim, Nevada, and that type of thing. And I'll get into that my next presentation. So I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Really quick though, I want to read this. Hopefully you can see this, right? I even put out there, is this a modern replication of Giza pyramid technologies? Were the kings and queens chambers designed for bioenergetics or another form of energy transfer? Was this what Wilhelm Reich discovered in his orgone energy experiments involving POR-DOR spectrum energetics? Is it being used for DOR, weaponized energetics? If so, can it be I said, if so, it can be redesigned for POR spectrum energetics, a true peace device. With further, and so again, this is, I believe, from Biblioteca, because good information surrounding Wilhelm Reich is nearly impossible to find, and Wikipedia completely trashes him. So, with further research, Reich found that orgone energy was responsible for storms and bad weather. Dead orgone, a term that again, guys, I do think that this guy was a total genius. I praise the work that he's done, and everybody who's followed him, who's done far greater things with orgone research than me. But I wholeheartedly disagree. I 100% disagree with ever defining it as dead orgone. It is not dead. No life energy is dead. To me, this is the fallacy of this is the thing that I wish that he understood caused the failure. Defining it as dead was a thought form entity that got programmed into orgone. It is all belief. It's a substrate layer, I guess you could say, of belief and what makes it amplify. Okay? Now, DOR was the term to describe the dead energy. Guys, let's call it dormant. Can we please? I'm just going to use, every time you read that word, I'm going to say dormant. So DOR was the term to describe dormant energy found within violent thunderstorms and hurricanes. The dormant energy was also found within people as well. Active people had plenty of orgone energy, while those who were depressed or sullen had an excess of DOR energy. Again, dormant, maybe even dark, but not dead. Reich is said to have been a very brilliant man, credited with discovering the highly controversial orgone energy. Remember, orgone is the Holy Spirit. He measured it. I would say if you're Christian, you can look at it that way. That man learned how to measure the Holy Spirit's force. Orgone energy is also known as life or orgasmic energy and is very different from more ordinary electromagnetic energy. It's like an inverse. Reich supposedly proved the existence of orgone energy in various laboratory experiments and wrote up his findings in several scientific journals. Just so you guys know, my research involves a replica of Wilhelm Reich's measurement device. So I do similar measurements that Wilhelm Reich does with a modern replication of his orgone energy measurement device. And I use a Helionosis LM Life Meter 4. That's the exact model that I use. So you understand that I do take this very seriously. I am measuring it in earnest. I've done a number of articles, and you're going to be seeing more if I can. Again, guys, the channel relies heavily on viewer support. If this enlightens you, if it enriches your life in any way, or if you really feel like what I'm talking about here matters and that you would like to support it, please look down in the description, and there's a bunch of different links there. And that's how you can support my work so that I can continue buying the equipment that I need to measure these things. And ask anybody who's been face to face with me or had whatever like that. I have the gear. I do use it. I do make clips with it, and I do know what I'm doing. Again, we could all use improvements, and I could definitely, whatever. But no, guys. I have soil meters that I measure orgone energy through. I've gone to the deserts and measured what it's like from the tree roots compared to just dead sand, compared to places that are desert next to like lakes that have lots of life energy, just to demonstrate to people that this is something. It's something that is different. It changes from environment to environment in ways that you can physically feel. You can't always prove it, but there's places that you feel like are haunted or that you think are just special. Like wow, I feel amazing every time I go there. Well, these are all places you can take a life meter, an LM4, and actually measure the energies, the life orgone energies. And I also have the BioWell GDV system, which can take environmental readings that basically measure the same spectrum of energy in a slightly different way with more data sets, and it does more measurements over time instead of just like a simple needle in real-time measurement. And on top of it, the GDV system can test the orgone in water. It can test the bioenergy in the environment with a Sputnik meter. I can put an electrostatic glove on a person and measure their orgone emissions that way. And I can also take your biofield reading and give you something kind of similar. I don't like calling them auras because even the maker of the camera says this is not an aura photograph. So it's not that, but it's a similar, the glow and the radiant, signal or whatever. You have to put your hand in the camera in different stages depending on the type of measurements you do, and it'll actually tell you what your biofield is relative to the environment. So I can, like, if you wonder why you feel good or you feel bad and depleted, I can provide data that would demonstrate one way or the other what's happening with an orgone that could show why. Excuse me. Excuse me here. All right. All right. So Reich is said to have been, all right, where was I? Reich supposedly proved the existence of orgone energy in various laboratory experiments and wrote up his findings in several scientific journals. He claimed that orgone energy could cure cancer, a finding that didn't find wide acceptance with his colleagues. Reich also stated that orgone energy was related to cosmic energy and with the Newtonian concept of ether. I completely agree. See, these are all things, but he probably fell short of the Holy Spirit because it's probably not that popular to draw that parallel. Maybe it would have been. Maybe if he could place it in that exact term, he would have gotten more support. I don't know, because I think it's true. Needless to say, his theories are widely criticized by his fellow scientists. After extensive research, Reich finally developed a device that would break up concentrations of DOR energy. When set up with a weather balloon, this device would dissipate or deflect thunderstorms. Armed with Reich's Stormbuster, the U.S. government created a device called a radiosonde. This device consisted of several sensors and a transmitter that could broadcast several bands to either build up orgone energy or to disrupt DOR energy. With it, the government could control the weather. So those of you who hypothesize towers are on ley lines, okay, that is a hypothesis. Look, it can be accurate, but its deliberateness is all I would question. I can't speak for other engineers. I just know me and the other guys that I work with and gals, that wasn't in our minds and we didn't plan it that way, okay? So that I can tell you honestly. And it wasn't like a government conspiracy on that part. We were just engineers that worked in rural areas, and people needed to make phone calls in the middle of nowhere, and we helped them do it. And that's how we looked at it. No more, no less. Good, decent people I worked with. I believe I'm a good, decent person. But yes, I think that there's concerns. And this exact statement here that about radio songs is what changed everything for me. Once I learned all that, I said, okay, then I don't think that it's completely without merit, and I'll study it. And that's what I've been doing for ever since basically 2016. And it's just taken me a while to accumulate all the necessary test gear and everything to do it. But I pretty much have quite a bit of what I need to prove things out now. Now I just need to be able to go places and actually do it and prove it. It's weird. As soon as I got the life meter, all kinds of hell came into my universe. It's almost like the life meter became like, whoa, we're going to make it to where you can never use that thing ever and prove anything. I tell you, every time, ever since I got that life meter, it's just been like nothing but like nonstop bizarreness in my universe, distractions, a million different things that I've had to do otherwise. And I know that if I was able to focus and concentrate on doing more things with my life meter and proving things, that I could get all of this, like I could prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. But anyways, it says it should be pointed out that any device capable of transmitting both orgone and dormant orgone energy could be used to affect people as well. It is possible that Phoenix Project was also looking into methods of population control. That's also consistent with the Aquarius group, guys. I can do more material on that sometime. Supposedly, the Soviet Union had conducted extensive experiments on select populations by broadcasting orgone or DOR energy into the area to try and alter emotional content of the population. All right. And that's the other thing I'll tell you guys. Hang on. Yeah, so I do think that a lot of the things that are going on right now with this alleged, look, there's things that are going on. I want to comment excessively on politics or the state of the world, but what I will tell you is that America, in a certain section of them, and you can go in and find all the documentation in the Defense Intelligence Agency report called Controlled Offensive Behavior. That's where I culled a lot of my research from. That document, as well as one from the US Army called the Gateway Experience. These were all declassified, I don't know, several years ago to maybe a little bit longer. And then they became widely distributed or sometime around 2016, where you could just go to a website and download it. It wasn't like hard to find anymore. And I read through all of it. And I said, well, wow, the US military knew about these things going all the way back to even World War II. And they knew the Nazis experimented with it. They knew that Russia was doing significant research in the field of bioenergetics, Kirlian photography, which is what I'm using to do life energy readings. And it's a Russian design device. And I can tell you, they do know everything. They've got it all. They know everything about pyramid energy. They know about bioenergetics. They know about crystals and what they actually do. And they don't do love and, they don't do love and light. No, they do show me the numbers. Give me tangible science. What are the readings? What's the data? See, that's how they're wired. They don't do this Gaia, Mother Earth, like we do here in the United States. It's ridiculous, you guys. It's ridiculous. Sorry. I'm trying to stay in the loving glow, but I am who I am. And let me tell you something. The whole new age is Anya Briggs is pretty sharp. She hasn't done material in a while, but she calls it the new age bowel movement. I don't know where she got that phraseology from, but yeah, I agree. It's the new age bowel movement because it absolutely stops us from like learning anything of significance because it's all done in this like, hi, we're empathic beings and Gaia, Mother Earth, and we need to honor Sophia and Gaia and all the other weird ass names that we're going to come up with to call planet Earth and just ignore all these more esoteric concepts. And I'm going to make you just get frustrated out of even looking into it. Ooh, I hate that, guys. So I'm not here to be that guy. Yeah, I speak of love. I know the power of faith and belief and how that programs positive orgone radiation. I respect the topic and I want you to get it at a spiritual level and a scientific level because this is the bridge between spirituality and science. It absolutely is. This is the perfect bridge between your faith and science. It absolutely is. So you do have to drown out the Gaia channel sometimes because it's so full of shit. but they bring you in with some of this information that is so good. Like they talk about the pineal gland, or they'll talk about the plasma, or they'll talk about these things, but then there's just part of it that you're just going like, God, this is so off resonance. Like, why do I feel like you're giving me some of it, but the rest is just bullshit? That's why, guys, because it's just, they don't want you to really get it. And I promise you, I want you to get it. I want you to get it. I want you to understand it. I want you to really understand this. We will have a better society. We will have a more whole, balanced society when people understand energetics. It is the thing that'll save us. It's going to save our culture. It's going to save our culture globally. It will. If I did not believe in that, the same way that a Christian believes, like speaking it to the heavens and all across the world, how much they love Jesus, well, maybe for me, I've discovered that I know why people feel that way. And maybe what I'm experiencing is the Holy Spirit. And that's why I want you to understand it. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is me contact or feeling in greater contact and communion and closer to God overall. And that's why I want you to understand God through this science, because a scientific mind doesn't just accept something like, well, I just have to have faith that Jesus exists. I just have to have faith that the Holy Spirit exists. Some people like me have to have something go, that's what it is. Ow. You know? So, I mean, that's the bulk of the material that I'm doing tonight, guys, as far as that. So I'm going to stick around for a little bit here and play anything else that you need, to, if, or you feel like, you know, if you want me to play something that's not too long, I can do a little bit more. I've done some articles lately, you know, that are kind of on these topics. I might have something I've done recently that might be good. Hold on a second. And if you have questions, feel free to go, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you already asked one, just ask it again, because I may not have seen it scroll down. Sorry to make you go through that, but yeah. And if you guys haven't seen my articles, like the Altai Pyramid in Russia, or what they're doing at the Tomsk complex, I'd be happy to play those before the end of the stream. I have time to do those. Yeah. You know something? I'm going to do frequency, vibration, and energy. God is the universe for you, really quick. And hang on, that one I think will you'll benefit from, if because that kind of bridges it all together too. This is one I've done very recently. It should help fill in the gaps a little bit. Whoops.
Good morning. This is just a reminder that everything that we exist in is frequency, energy, and vibration. All things that are brought into physical matter as we perceive are done through this process. Human brainwave operates in the extremely low frequency range. Earth brainwave operates at a nearly identical frequency range, the Schumann resonance. The human brain operates at a nearly identical frequency. When you combine all of the brains, all of the extremely low frequency waveforms together, they begin to bend the universal plasma field. The universal plasma field is God. We bring it into fruition, it brings us into fruition. It is a self-repeating cycle that we are all a part of, and we all share this ionosphere. It comes from us, and it comes back to us. That's what's known as the karma cycle. Everything we say matters. Every word matters, because every thought form entity that exits this machine that bends the plasma field is contributing to bending the plasma field. into everything that we experience. And that's God. What we say matters. What we think matters. It literally matters. We vibrate things into physical matter. Every building began as a thought. Every road began as a thought that merged with others who were shared that thought, that idea, that thought form. And when they gathered together, they made stronger thought form entities that bends the plasma field and manifests into buildings and roads and streets and inventions and everything we experience. We're all experiencing this together. We're all doing this together. God is here. It is everything around us. It's within us, and it's coming from us, and it's coming back to us. It's as simple as that. Just something to consider this morning. It's a reoccurring theme in nearly everything that I'm seeing now. And I think that that's for a reason. We need to remind each other of this. Thank you. God bless.
One more thing, guys, because this is like my Edgar Casey library experience, and this was super trippy. Talk about synchronicity. I want you to see this.
So I was sitting here thinking to myself in this library about Malachi Martin, and all I did was go right around the corner, and I pick up the book, and it's The Encounter by Malachi Martin. I literally thought of it, hadn't seen it yet, went around the corner, and there it was. It's really tripping me out. All I did was think of him, and the book just wound up in my hand like in a second. So I was sitting here literally thinking.
That's exactly what happened, you guys. I promise you. It's like all these other weird things, like you would have to be there to know. You can't just accept on, I guess you can accept on faith if you want to. I would appreciate it if you did, because I am telling you the truth. All I did was think of the man. I hadn't even been down that book aisle yet. And it doesn't say Malachi Martin on the side of it. So I don't think it's that I just caught it out the corner of my eye and knew where to find it, like in some subconscious way. No, the aether drew me to his book. See, this was everything was manifesting like right in front of me at this library. It was brilliant and amazing and bizarre, and it didn't spook me out. It just made me it just kept on validating everything that I'm saying over and over again, and it made me feel really good. Made me feel very good inside. And I want the theme here. I want the understanding to be the interconnectedness, that there's people clear across the globe that are feeling and resonating on a similar frequency to us. They're all over the place. And even if we believe in like shadow banning and restricted internet protocols, and, that there might be a government that's trapping this type of information or stalling that or lagging this or whatever it is, guys, the aether exists. So they may have control sometimes over the black white layers or the yin and the yang, but what's in between the yin and the yang, that's all of our domain, because they can't control your thoughts. Not really. They can try, and sometimes they succeed. But at the end of the day, you're going to think what you're going to think. You're going to believe what you're going to believe. And the game, really, and the spiritual war, the spiritual battle, is getting you to not believe, getting you to not speak, always getting you to lower your frequency, lower, which is your voice, your God-given voice, your right to speak. That's why that's so fundamental to what our beliefs are in America. And it's so tragic when we forget it. That's just like, you must get you're externalizing your thoughts. I don't care if you're by yourself. Let your voice be heard. Speak your truth. I don't care if there's somebody to hear it or not. It matters. Every single word, every frequency, and every sound that comes out of your voice is a frequency. And there's always a chance that the right person at the right time, at the right place is going to hear it. So don't give up on that. Every evangelical that's ever succeeded in what they do to spread the word of God will tell you that. So this is what I do is I'm explaining to you like that's why this is like powerful to me. I've seen evidence of it over and over again where I'm just like going, I've been really thinking about Malachi Martin and I wonder if they have any books by the guy. And I was thinking about him strong. All I did was go around the corner and it was just like as soon as the thought came in, it's like you can almost see me grabbing his book right now. Get my little King Kong. Oh, you got it. Intentions, yeah. You got it. Intentions. Intentions. What is your intention? Pay close attention to that because, see, you can't fool anyone. You know what your intentions are. And that's what's going to make that aether programmed in one spectrum or another. Are you going to go with positive orgone radiation? Ask yourself what you're really trying to change in the world if you are, and how you want to do that. If you want to do it through fear, through anger and rage, barking people down, being upset, raging against the machine, fighting everything, that's dormant energy. Because every minute you focus and concentrate on that rage, that anger, that fight is all the energy you're not putting into creation, all the energy you're not putting into love, all the energy you're not putting into just calling somebody that you care about and say, "Are you feeling all right? How are you? You're one of my favorite people and I love you." Every minute you're in an argument is a minute you're not doing that. Every minute you're in a conflict is a minute that you're not putting into something that you could be creating. Every dollar you spend on spiritual bypassing is something you could save. Keep. So what are you going to do with your thought forms? What are you going to do with your intentions? See, that's why you can't let anger dominate you. That's why I've had to do the things that I've done lately and put out the material that I have. Because every time I find myself being disappointed in things, in the progress or whatever, I have to quickly snap out of that and say, wait a second, this is energy I'm not putting into making things happen. This is energy I'm putting into not creating. As I'm going in this repetitive cycle of all the things that I'm disappointed in, or that didn't happen the way that I wanted them to, it's just another minute that's wasted on actually creating the blueprints, the architecture, and all that I need to manifest things into physical reality that'll save everyone and everything that we want to do. All of us. I mean, not just me, but everybody. I don't want to put my energy into that either. Do you? And that's a big part of what this is about. That's what I'm trying to get here with everybody. What do you want to do with this? Now that you know, those who didn't know before, and those who are still just in the process of getting it. Now that you get it, now that you got it, what are we going to do with it? Because I think we should be doing what like they're doing with the Tomsk pyramids. I think we should be really actually building something right now. I think what we should be doing is studying things that are life affirming, elevating them and amplifying them across globally. And that's what'll create the awakening. It's not pointing out what's wrong over and over again. Believe me, I've done that for several years now. And it has its place. When you're performing a global exorcism, you can't do it by not acknowledging that the devil is in the room. This is one of the reasons why Malachi Martin left the Catholic Church, because a lot of the higher ups started to deny that evil exists. He disagreed with that. You can't confront something that you believe does not exist. You can't tell everybody there is no devil when it's all around us. So the only way to solve it is, number one, acknowledge that it's a problem, then quickly begin with the building blocks to make it work. And you don't do that. You don't do that by staying anchored in trauma and past problems and everything else like that. You just don't get anything done. You're only focused on what you're upset about. You're so in a loop of anger at that point that you're not going to manifest shit. Sorry, mumble language. But you just won't. And this is one of the reasons why I say the power of forgiveness is extremely strong. Because, again, some people weaponize that part of your psyche. They'll do horrible things and say, forgive me. Forget those people. It's not about them. It's really not about them. See, that individual person that you forgive has a cascade relationship to others, things that flow through them that impact others. And if you can change that one heart by just simply not engaging them in the battle that brings you into DOR, now you begin to create. Now you begin to create that energy flow, and they're not distracting you any longer. And you're actually doing the heavy lifting spiritually that changes it all. And so that's honestly what I'm really trying to do here, is put as much of my energy into inspiring myself, inspiring you through knowledge, and you don't have to accept everything. I'm not asking you to say like, Gabe's right. No, it's just something for you to consider. I might be wrong, but doesn't it sound right to you? Because it does to me. So yeah, letting go of anger and rage and hate, especially hate. Hate owns you. Hate is the most worthless emotion. Bitterness and hate, you have to let it go. You can't let it dominate you because you're giving them energy. Thoughts become things. You're not hurting them. You're amplifying that part of their character. So if you're going to do a thought form thing, focus on what imagine that person in your mind being benevolent. Imagine them being the person that you wish that they were. See them visualize your enemy if you perceive them that way, or your aggressor. Do the heart chakra exercises. Imagine the light shining on them. From my heart's going to emanate this strong, strong light. And I hope so much that it fills your heart up with love and forgiveness and understanding and awareness and awakening, that you will just want to set down your swords of destruction and anger and hate and rage, and you'll be motivated, inspired to be better, and visualize that person receiving it, being bathed in a glowing light. And see, if you make it that non-specific, just I'm going to give them the light, that light could do a lot of things. It could shine the light on what they're doing wrong in a way that wakes them up. And now they have a beacon signal to go into. Like, wow, that person, they showed me that much love. They knew I was better. They knew I was capable of doing better. And they opened their heart up to allowing me to get there. So I'm going to end on this. I don't care who you are. I can't accept everybody into my life always, but I want you to know I love you. I forgive you. And I actually genuinely want you to get there. I don't care who you are or what you've done to me or any disagreements we had. That's how I feel about you. With love. I absolutely promise you it's with love. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.